Greetings and Gamer Radio, the of Outlaw Game. This is the show where we then play to live. Joined by a man who has something to do with and kerosene. Guarded Lauren.
Hey, a fine hello to you, Furka.
Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, week. I heard that somebody else showed up, but
listen. The point is,
I can't be.
And we're very happy.
Point.
I'm the United States of America. It's a moment ago. I mean, anybody who lives here in the U.S. hadn't been so great, you know. A lot of things going wrong. A lot of people blame the Obama administration. Once Lauren Baumgart moves back out, you'll see.
You know that because I've actually been gone close to toe. Well, apparently they don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, you know, it takes sometimes people think they're doing okay and realize, like, wait a minute, shit. This guy, like this Robert Durst, got arrested on like if it happens. The same incidents? No. To New Orleans, they know you're back. And Lauren Baumgart's back. This motherfucking country. And so
that is exactly right.
We're going to get to the email situation. Rest, knowing that Lauren Baum on a wall. He's doing. What are you doing? Welcome back, man. It's great to have you
back. As I said, I'm sorry I wasn't to not miss a week. But as you know, scant several hours when we record the show and the computer up and running. I did not have other than boxes. So it's moderately set up now and set up. I'll tell you what, it's nice to get.
I'm going to be on time that any human being in their lives. That's a unique moment in my
fair enough, but I last week I
it was
heard
a
you
lot
guys
of fun.
had
you know, the only thing that would have made it everybody thinks that Bader in the South, you know that Bader, which the Bader. Anyway, my point is Tony and I had a great time, have made it better, would have miraculously been able, three of us will have to do that again.
Absolutely, and I know it was kind of a fortunate to having Daniel and Tony so close together, the planning of any sort of reunion or anything like that. But it worked out. Hearing from both that there's been a hole in their tiny little Tony as well. So I'm very for coming on but it's nice to be back.
Let's get into the garage on the road. We're going to about a game which was referenced by yours truly, and that is Firewatch. Had a what do they call it? A first peek. Firewatch, 17-minute game on YouTube. It's linked in our show. That and then come back here. Other fucking idea what we are
at all. I barely know, and I want.
And honestly, games what we're doing right here about nothing. I say that in jest. Really about is some relatively by the video games that you have played in the past. Waiting for something. You keep waiting for the cave troll. Waiting for a serial cask to jump out, and none of it is a different kind of game.
Yeah, I don't know if you had time to get. I've actually watched so interesting and unique. Sure, exact to be long term. Get to see. I mean, but I'm still not clear on what exact overarching gameplay is necessarily. A park range
exploration. Certainly, there's certainly there's going to interact within the environment that I imagine on. We see a little bit. Perhaps more interesting. There's a moment where they do a little orienteering, a compass and map. They really got interesting. It will remind DayZ and a map having to look at a compass. The hell you are, and that of I don't know, like that. Just figuring out where you're going is actually, as opposed to just to follow. I really speaks to a game. The gameplay is rounded than.
Obviously, that's a bit more to the gameplay than what we're seeing here. What we did see was very
the back and forth. I
thought the dialogue sort of a little cliche or forced. The dialogue sort of rolled off the tongue well within the game. There was something about watching this that I don't know that I could. This is sort of like that game, you know, or the orienteering but it felt in a video game before that I came to. In that it just felt time walking or in and waiting to see what this is. So it came out of nowhere for me, and it was sure and how different it was. And I'm very curious to see into as we learn more and more.
The thing that who are listening to the video yet and are trying to figure out, we are describing a game about a unique regular job. But the game is who is on Firewatch. You know, like a national park. You're like an arm up in a tower, ostensibly for smoke for wildfires, and you've got some other things you got to do as some drunk campers to stop. It's a great way to start a forest fire. You have to just those kind I would have to do. There's no kind of action heroic aspect to anything that is, I think, the source of what makes. One thing I want to go back to, and there's a moment video. And that there's a moment in this video back and forth between the boss, who he's on radio with, to this interesting because she's on this pun-filled having to do with light, and she keeps things about our current and things like that. Oh God, stop! No, I've not been able to an NDR with them, but all of those responses that I had rants from Daniel Kaiser over and they pain and to my reactions is something that they needed came to me and recreating sensation of disgust, and I worked very closely with the team to talk about it until now.
I certainly had some similar.
There's a cool moment, intentional, but I could be wrong. Just to like this locked cache, use out in the woods to keep things in case of emergency. Open up this cache and inside, or that's 5 years old or something. Also a deer antler in there. Sort of looks like what the hell's. Immediately brought me back to the moment where Richardson, where he's like praying to gods in the hotel and fucking pagan blood. And I don't think that, but my God, it made me. Moving on.
Yep.
3. Trine was just a little itty bitty game. Everybody thought it was really clever, and into a bona fide guy.
That's a true story, man. 7-minute trailer.
How about that?
And but in the road, because coincidentally, this trailer was released too over the last road. But indeed, but I had initially found this trailer before the move started, and I thought they needed to be on here. I think Trine is Trustic Games. They are both full video games I've ever played. Yeah. And I am super 3, and I don't know if you noticed, Brent, but there's actually 3D TV, but there's 3D gameplay.
Over the shoulder.
So you're not just, it's not just a corner.
That's exactly right. See them expanding this into. The thing that's so great is that it's still, and you will look at that great platforming mechanic, solving things that you have to do. There's a new character that's a bit, but perfectly recognizable as Trine, and a peek at some of the boss things that we're seeing look really fantastic. I mean, it's really, really cool. It's evolved.
It is indeed as gorgeous and beautiful as ever. I just thought it was something that absolutely.
They're saying that they've established, and they also it will be coming to other forms after that. And this news is going to reach you too soon today. That we're Trine 1 and 2 are 80, although that show actually reaches you.
Yeah, I don't know, Brent. What's the? Are you able? Prices, even Trine 2, which I
1,000 space bucks, something. Oh, yeah, I don't know what the exchange rate is, but
worth the money. You should check. They're both coming in 2015. By the way, you said first to PC, but I think in 2015 as well.
Yeah, on the website is that, and that that comes after. But I mean that they don't specify. So in this year.
All right, Brent. So across.
Yeah, man. So what happened is of the developers of this game, the people head games. Messaged me on Menta and hey, Dick, you should check out. So I went and checked out this game Kickstarter, which they're going for right now, called Detect Murders, and this is based on a think figure with folklore, but it is actually a person who there were a series of novels as the character written by a. And is based on Detective D, the judge magistrate. I can't remember the dynasty. I want to say in China's first emperor. That was anyway. This game, a hybrid of adventure, but fused detective mechanic of you trying to solve these you're investigating. And if the Kickstarter page, if you watch the video, they're proposing that's going to have traditional adventure game mixed mechanic in a historic, badass, straight up old, really, really cool. So anyway, I go check out the game. Like, take my money, Jesus, because it looks like the long and short of it is we ended up recent update. They had some people who had mentioned the game and is Brent Adams from Outlaw Games. That was cool to get a little shout out from that they were fans of the show and a very, very cool looking game. So on
yeah, I think everybody should go take a look at it. I just like saying as is Detective
Detective Die is the name of an never mind. Anyway.
Absolutely. There's 10 days?
Yeah, there's 10 days over halfway to their 15,000 Canadian. 10 days to go. So they're going to read their. I'd really, really like to play that. I'd have call them a demo or something right now.
Oh, maybe you should. I think it was a very interesting looking game, and I check it out. You.
Yeah.
Now this one, Brent, this had to go on, and it was curious if my reaction might really like, you've got to be kidding me, and it actually sort of made me happy. And this Star Citizen's client, 100.
Well, just don't think he could possibly be. Ask everybody. Ask yourself, and then something after the 100. What could it possibly be? Yeah. That's going to be 100 of something.
100
gigabytes, people.
Gigabyte download. Let that sink in. I've not heard. I mean, I think of to that. I'm trying to think of. I think GTA was
maybe. I didn't get it on on digital download like you. Lock in very close.
No,
to
but
that.
I think
okay,
or close to it. This is just astounding to me. And at first, you've got to be shitting me. They're laughable. It's ridiculous. Nobody's going to. Then I kind of calm down. And so this is actually good news. This game's moving forward that are going to require the edge when it comes to that. But, I now have a 2 terabyte computer that I use as a media drive for what it costs me. I have an SS as my boot drive, and I have a 2 drive in addition to another sort of general storage drive.
Sure.
2 terabytes, 2005-7 years ago, we will soon have petabyte?
Yeah. Terabytes after
terabytes. First PlayStation that got released gigabyte, PS4 would eat up 20%, and of course assumes that actually it's stored, but it's not. It's a big deal, but I cut the cockles a little bit, Brent. I mean, to know that it's on my computer for 100 gigs, despite all of that, you know what I mean? Therefore, I won't be buying it.
For myself, I can get
this game.
Yeah, Citizen, and I certainly at some point down the road, although I've really been all that involved in data stuff, that in various right now, but for the final release, I do, which means that I'm going to have to upgrade my storage. I also kind of had a moment of, the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's the nature of Star Citizen. A game has been, I saw it described somewhere, go bigger. About this game is nothing. This game to the greatest degree and finesse that we can, and gigabyte download. And yet, for this game that run 14 to 2, and now, but in another be not, I have seen this is there was a Polygon. People that it was just saying why it's a good thing, a pair saying why it's a bad thing. Was raised most people in North America on their internet. A lot of people in America cap on their internet service. Everybody that has internet service within these, an unlimited.
Yeah, I don't know anybody in the U.S. either.
Cap. How would I be drowning in all this? So
why am I laughing at that?
So like a person never even set foot inside the Union actually lives here or there. From my impression. Canada and Europe is that caps on their internet that you have per month so maybe I'm not the case either, but anyway, first thought when I saw this that if you're one of those people that data cap like a 25 gig, download this game in chunks over the course
4 months
whatever, follow their web surfing, but so that's the only place that I look at and say this, you could have who might really no practical way other than download on Steam whatever they can spare in band. Wait 30 days like that.
Yeah, if it's somebody who, you're going to run it. So it's interesting this week, but there was recently an article, and I wasn't noticed, and we would run into those problems where people would buy it not knowing it couldn't play it, and they got to go through Steam in the ass.
Yeah,
I feel like if your product. And now they came up front, obviously, on the code.
How would you know that it was going to be a
hosted? Yeah, and I don't. I think they would need to refund those to people who are like, look, game, and I have a 20 cap, and that's just untenable, unreasonable expectation. I think that somebody would be able, or that you wouldn't at least wouldn't.
Yeah, that was what I would think that they would do. Go into some to think about physical media. Getting a DVD, to the for the least amount of money possible.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see how it shakes. It is hopefully, a sign of increasing internet speeds and do have data caps raised and that sort of thing, and then higher fidelity and better games because that, they'll have larger
infrastructure will evolve or fucking else. Welcome back, everybody, to the clubhouse. And let's talk about the poll. It's in. I'm sorry. I respect you all. Opinion. I really enjoy and looking at what everybody has. Sometimes when I'm uploading for sleep and get into that place to create that you guys can care about that. Really.
Just already. God.
Okay, so move past that on my part. Topic today. It's going to be, and it's one of the rare topics to talk about on this show. I mean, and Barrett having no fucking no way stops us from it. Today's topic has something that Lauren and I about, and that is managing a game community. An article on Polygon from the article is titled "Culture Wars and the Identity," and it's written by Colin Camp. It is the empathy panel that at GDC management in the Culture Wars and people participating are Richard Vogel and Walton, each of whom have various community-driven games over so forth. About the just talking about the challenge, suggesting various that are completely for to operate a game community in toxic culture. That's the setup. As somebody who has helped to manage X community, now the Outlaw, been a professional community manager recently at HB Studio, I think that first round comes from you.
Very good subject, and I wish tapped me to be on this panel. Stuff going on. I unfortunately was
too busy, getting the Secret Service to get to the bottom.
That's right.
I can't do all.
They came back. They offered me another. Did some zeros. I still was not.
Security
but
cancer,
I think it's
guys,
interesting discussion nonetheless. With personally, there's some things. But
I agree.
One of the interesting consider, Brent, either with in Epic Battle Axe and my work professionally, the size of the community and trying. Either keep it as, or if it reaches a parsing out the size by the community in a way that they put forth, there is that sort of tipping point. The community becomes big in anonymity, which allows for assertive trolling or flaming behavior
of these because there's anonymity in them.
Yeah, and it makes agree. Although I just don't know that that I found. I would say, for example, has somewhere in the neighborhood consistently active members, and when I say consistent, daily to maybe there's many more members than them frequently, but maybe full weeks. But I would say it's about that amount. The people that having to ban, being acknowledged in a smaller group from their behavior. I think my feet to understand that on the circumstances, I never or in person, very hard to tell. Interactions in writing, very hard to tell come from and what their motivations are. I think that three fundamentally resulted in people having to be the community about Brent, because I think it's interesting that between in which millions of dollars are at stake, community management changes, experience with Epic Battle Axe, and we ultimately sort of get to. There's no money involved in our website, and so it's a very different experience.
Different experience place around a game, and people export and that kind of thing.
Commerce isn't yours. Yeah. It might be the money for the game, but. But there's really basically resulted in people being banned, and I think they were, although I can't really be sure. There's people out there that I'm trying to think how to lack they're people and don't understand what and I mean that from
somebody that might be diagnosed as a social personality disorder,
or people that there is a not small, I'm making this up, but 10% of the population that diagnosable, that they just don't interact, that the majority of the what we consider to be basic where they real in-person life forums, and they probably feel a little bit interacting in forums because of I think there's a set we're just not in a healthy manner. I think the sort of second group want to go out and use this as an arena with people, or to be an asshole or aim, and you know what I mean. Another subset of people who similar outcome as the first group, and that is I feel like because of their language and they're very different. So things that I've learned by being in Brazil sees just can be in the context of example is if you go to any sort of states and then you go to New York City, one culture might and another culture just can or assertive or that act. But I think there's a couple who really struggled to be able civil conversation because what civility was are very different, and on top of that, language, in this case, together, really struggled to have out every single person, at least 3 banned. So being banned was the 4th, where I would have them about why it was inappropriate, and to try and explain to them how they could bird their posts.
Were you able to rehabilitate to the point?
Almost never.
That's an interesting about a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, almost. The truth is, you could tell that the people. Who got to 3 strikes to 4. The people that like rehabilitated or whatever have 1 strike. Real quick, to be clear, Brent, they got at least in almost every case, at least gave them an unofficial and usually in a 5th one. I really have opportunities prior to the one that before most of the people that rehabilitated, quote unquote, either 1 or 2 warnings that understand ones, but just like one day where this guy's just knowing I'm going to get a warning, or people will come home and say something, and then I'll write. It happens. Actually,
if I came home, God damn it, I'm going to get on the internet.
Those people would always wonder, I'm really sorry, I just got really frustrated, whatever. Or they would say, I understand that, Lauren, and I cut across the line, but why I thought this, and then it would go like that. Getting banned inevitably wrote whatever in responses, or they would write stuff like more aggressive responses to people. Instance where somebody got within and didn't end up getting banned.
That was the thing that I was thinking about as some of these suggestions and stuff, and strategies for dealing with that. In all the yearging a community and in all these other online communities, kinds of personalities. I mean, almost every forum, problem members are on some level incapable of follows and guidelines laid out by the forum who continue either harassing other people, inevitably get banned, will come and everybody will figure out it's the same person thing. I've seen it time in our community and in others. And I've come to the conclusion that you were just talking about it. Have a nation or by nature who really fit into the way that you want them to. Over the years, started out, doing Epic, slowly kind of getting a community and reticent to ban, even if they have an inflammatory opinion. I feel an odd their say. The part of me that you only have things that you and disagree with. You don't have fucking freedom of speech. Really believing in that principle, really put banning dead last option, and we were going to in here and there to try. You were just talking about that we had seems inevitable. Looking back, you could almost see as like banning this person. I can tell, but
it's through the same person.
I agree. I mean, I don't think if we have some problem, going to just flat out ban them. 2 years ago, like they see. This behavior all over again. I agree with that, but I'm just saying that I've kind of resigned myself similarly that they're thinking, but we've had a very, very small amount banned over a small number.
Yes, HP Studios, it was also, barring the people, different people, maybe 5 to 7.
Less than 10.
Maybe like outright banned all of the rings out of 4,000 registered members.
So anyway, sort of a cap on, skeptical as to the idea that for that percentage, whatever 10%, but for audience that is a specific kind of harass, I really that there's a lot of hope as individuals. That your itself and how you manage that culture is care of the engaging in that, because the other people just kind of shooting, blaming a little bit, and there's weakness and personal attacks and everything. And that too, I guess that's just those kind of managed by Moat on your website. I don't think that people are engaged of that we're talking about that seem as though they have personality of I guess the kind of the social a neurotypical person as an example. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there to reforming people, and while people on here they're kind of talking about it, this flashing and just start filtering people out, really helping the situation, because that just to groups even more and engage and et cetera, et cetera. But I think everything there's a threshold. There's disagreements and arguments and things simply because it's just different. That stakes are perceived to be really high. Threshold below which get managed simply by within the community, and hey, it's great that we're having this constructive if we're not actually talking about. But above that threshold, that I perceive to be the real, it's not about them to make nice.
Yeah, I do want to point out something else that I think, I'm so glad that it was brought up. They allude to the importance of being honest and forth more than anything. I think we've seen this, Brent, but community with information is of vital importance. How you is deal with them as possible. And I think, I wish that it really made an effort and then taken it to GD. Very interesting permutations of context of we released games. Game came out on Xbox One, PlayStation. Game was released on the 3 out at different times. Process where I wondered if we were much candor, if we were giving out, because we parent, and sometimes it really understanding what was going on, because we would, we've submitted it, we don't know why it's not at times if there was too much information. I think is interesting, and I'm not if it was either good or bad. And I think is just vital.
I think here's what I would say. I think whatever interaction you're going to have with, I think you need to be honest. That's a separate. How much information you're going to, you have to kind of set that, whatever, the comfort and consistent, but wherever that shows up, on always on part of the situation. I think just a couple of things that we didn't really, that are talking. I was a little bit curious. A statement made at one point, and I'm not, if this is the art, this is a kind of a summation. One of that, this is being attributed to cost. But he's talking he's talking about having kind of groups or existing kind of in an expressing their own opinions and things like when they group that doesn't agree cultural clash with as political left and the political right. And I my head at that because there's no clarification on that and what context, and because there, I mean, I don't know, and I don't really know what the relevance is to outside of possible situation, which certain is going both ways. This was like a traditional or mainstream sort of group of people versus like a social, and there's this kind of conservative. That one instance, really think of political left versus political standards. On Steam about that's I've never really found that to be the case with plenty of people both sides of that spectrum about agree unrelated game things. I don't quite understand that. I would love to have seen from the panel to kind of better there. Anyway, just to sum up, interesting to kind of get how some people, I think, an approach that does for bad behavior, and other people that's not exceptionally. Some people feel that is you have to have community that are to set a good, and I think it's not necessarily an either or. I guess that that I think with me this sometimes what will solve these kinds of friction at the edges of different, is if the community of identity to the community, it's a uniting fact, eclipses those kinds of, that really, through debates and discussions and disagreement on the website over the years, related, sense of community, that sense we are outlaws, that really belonging to something worth, I think it's like me and my sibling, my parents really disagree about this. Have this unifying thing there, and no amount of disagreement apart because of it. That I think is and engender that kind of sense of inspire people belonging to your while to them solve a lot of your problems because belonging to a community like Outlaw Game, that alone has been enough. Our community certainly did a lot of these talk driving here. Although how you do that, I think we've been very fortunate to have as members who have only upheld but personified that you and I have always felt were very important in that discussion about. Been very lucky, and I can't. That's just what we always, and that's what we held up and valued.
Priority, and made it clear that it's a priority.
It was interesting to see battle acts and behaving the way that they were used, and seeing people from our communities, that's not how we do things. And that's the thing. Anybody wants, I think that environment, most people, I think that if you, meant to help, I think that the majority of people are the best that it can be. So now, position as anybody to sound part of on the planet and about this and what you think and maybe other communities that you belong to, but just to hear what you guys have to say about this, all of it. And I imagine okay, our hands on some games, and Lauren, you're going to start us off. Likely game ever up in the road, all about.
In fact, the most unlikely game ever is less likely, but actually more unlikely because I hated it.
You're on the record, I guess, where you talked about how this would be the equivalent of the road and saying, "Guess what I did?" That's what we're talking about.
BioShock Infinite, that much?
I really think it was pretty clear about how much of the postmortem on it.
Yeah, Brent. I mean,
people liking BioShock Infinite.
I mentioned to you, I have begun playing The Last of Us. You were shocked.
Part of
a big part of the reason is because I got it for free. When I bought my PlayStation, I left my other PlayStation there. It's easier than bringing it back up. And when I did that, I got it remastered. And Second Son, I had mentioned this to you before, but we will be weak.
Hooray!
Because I for the game. Awesome. So I got a free code for The Last. What? I got this code. I should check. I only played the very, very, very. But it, first of all, is gorgeous.
Does it PS3 version?
It does to significantly better. I remember the PS it does. It looks. So I've only played through a TV. Brant was that you recall The Last of Us on my TV when and now I am playing it when I gotten back. Not quite on another more badass TV. Much more comfortable.
And just your appreciation for the game.
It's 15 minutes. I will let you know. I don't have much to report other than that. And right now I'm not hating.
there's some, I don't want to insult you. Always felt the things that you were saying about the game to me trivial in the sense that like you don't really mean what you're saying as much as you're saying it does, because I'm deeply and intelligent enough self-aware to why something didn't appeal to you. Always harbored, I was capacity of The Last of Us, and there's a part of me that always felt to that game in another place where other things that not play the way that they might have been, wondered if your reaction to the game different, even substantial, if you continued playing, whether or not that's the case.
Fair enough. I mean, I certainly, in the context of my complaint as them briefly being story and gameplay were, and certainly those aren't trivial of, not trivial in this, the color palette, bad, or, you know what I mean, that I had, with the, probably, but my vehemence, sure, had to do with with veracity with which people were. I mean, it was everybody's game of the to my sort of, it's the worst game of the year appointment to me. But when we play games, what the circumstances under
it matters
matter, and so
Fable 3, great,
which I enjoyed.
Shouldn't have done it.
So I'm open to the eyes. I also respect many other people games they've ever played, and so I to recognize that there's at least some might be gained by I talked about it just a few weeks ago, so it's fortuitous, and I'll let you know how it goes. Yep.
For yet another Star Wars Commander, I talked briefly about this with I really buggered in which to just briefly happened is I made the game works. You can upgrade your that level 1, level 2. That currently the cap of the game is level. I made the hideous mistake. There was an update where I basically said I have become a gunsible. I cannot be. I had one sort of engagements against me, and I mean it was just like a streak. And I kind of discovered why. And as you move into these various, which is kind of determined by yours, like this one building at the focal point, and so level 7. Well, now you're attacking other level 7, and any of your headquarters gets upgraded to the gatekeeper thing, and really put that together. Upgraded my headquarters to level else in my base. Thing is, I upgraded my headquarters. I've gone from like the 7. I'm the big fish and I'm the little fish in the level 8 as handed to me continuous. Right now trying to dig my way out of everything else, but I'm attacking level 8 troops. Conversely, my level headquarters is getting attacked, decimated time and time. And I kind of realized like, wow, we fucked this up pretty short of it is. There's this one part of one of like pains that they run, upgrade vehicles that you win is to win upgrades. And I was trying to upgrade this vehicle, could not do it. I went through 2 campaigns just because I literally could, in this, tier that I'm not invested my money, and I was getting my ass kicked. Upgrade this vehicle. This weekend, I finally got some upgrades. They just did like a 3-layer campaign, and I finally got this. And it was seriously the month or two. It was to live into that aristocratic plans would put in smoke. Watched poor people.
Dude, this is what you get for hubris.
That's exactly right. It was, and the fucking Valley. That's what happened to me. So,
anyway, so you have another game on here, Brandon. If it's the handheld version,
it is, and it's not. I talked about playing XCOM on my a couple of weeks ago. Well, I fucking love it, but I got hours into XCOM on the that expansion on PC, which adds a whole bunch, and so I'm missing out on all that. Like this is just the enemy unknown. The
enemy within adds Brandon. It adds something. It's a weird.
So basically, the enemy with kind of a arc, as it were, that has a group of that like cybernetic and alien tech to enhance. So, there's this technology hybrid that then incorporate into you would capture alien tech, search it, and incorporate that fights against this other faction of human hybrid that you can incorporate this, and the game is supposed to slightly questionable trying to go to win. Are you going to humanity to save humanity? And all of this is from the figuratively speaking. I have not played it yet. I've replaying the PC because I got really excited about it and then I totally forgot. So I love XCOM, which is a lot. I want to play it again. Really, it's going to be at least until that what we need is, which I'm down for anytime.
When I guess what playing game on XCOM?
It better
you idiot. Good old Shoes convinced me to he bought me the enemy within, but he said the game.
Yeah. That's just to get in far. I'm still at the, like in the first.
Fortunately, I don't think it's going to lag. Like, it's such a good that I don't think very badly.
No.
It's interesting to look at, and it's not a barely.
It's just like the graphics. I think they work well together. Not like a game that you go back and you're like, it's 32-bit graphics.
Or the gameplay, and so that game. However, so
too.
The last two games that I'm going to talk about games that I purchased 3D.
Ooh.
Buy the TV with.
Gotcha.
I had decided that I didn't need that. I wanted and realized that I thought, okay, I'll get it. In Sony set, and there are a few games on the PS4, and it's been tremendously frustrating. Of the game, one or two other games I have played, which is incredible, phenomenally beautiful 3D, a perfect and it begs doing it when you play Trine 2 3D. It's got this wonderful game already announced. When you absolutely wonderful in 3D. If you have a 3D TV, 3D, it is an example of why one would want to. The sort of randomly enough, happens to have been I picked it up for here, and I'm maybe it is a enjoyable series of games out there like this, harkening back in the day, which was one in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know as a game yet or in 3D. It looks good. There's a couple elements that need to be tweaked, like when you scope down the 3D site, combat. Crushing bullet time thing. Worse now. I shot this guy. I think I read about this before.
Split in half. It was
no. It's sort of kneeling down a little bit, like on
first mistake.
If you shot the knee that was elevated. So I shot right through that testicle, and it peels back. It shows you like internally, and it shows
what
the
do you
bullet.
Mean intense internally? I mean,
no. Inside his body, like it shows you his bullet is going through it.
Yes.
And it's testicle shot. 20. So far, it's been fun. Very well. I hope there will be enjoyable. At least till VR comes out.
A game that is just leading us down the path of our society to the point. All-time favorite television show. Ow, my balls. All starts here, buddy.
I now realize that saved that video clip of I absolutely should have, and we could in the show notes or something.
An opportunity.
So those are the games I've been playing. When I came back here, I sat down to play Dragon Age Inquisition 2 and realized that until I make this my primary, I won't have any of my cloud save. And if I make it my primary, who has a sector that's in Brazil, will know games that she's playing, and so I don't want out of her games. So for the next couple, I can't play Dragon Age, which was so I'm I gotta play.
But alas,
like Trine and 3, The Last of Us. I would like to copy of The Order. I can't find it at Redbox, and I'm actually interested in the show. Which actually got pretty decent reviews.
PS3. I'm anxious to.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to talk about it. We move forward in the coming weeks. I'm a little bit. Brent, I think we're going to wrap up. Over to our listeners, we want to hear talked about today. Trine 2 and 3, XCOM: The Enemy Within, Mastered. Of course, what we just game communities on the internet, and then what Star Citizen's 100 gigabyte. I was going to say Detective Die, from New Pixel Games. Make sure Trine 3 trailer and of Firewatch. We want to hear and anything else related. He is Brent Adams. I am joining us, and remember, you don't get old because you stop playing.